fan's heart is full of hate. He butthurts, cries, and a dark shadow falls over this troll. From the ashes of a once great fandom has risen a meme, an LOL that must be liked. We look to the airwaves for a vindicator, someone to strike fear in the dark basement of the parents who created him. The battle between fan and smart has begun. With a head on his shoulders stands the smart fan, a speaker of truth with a voice of silence and a radio show of justice. This is Ring Rust.
Okay, well, let's start off with congratulations to me. I, of course, want to congratulate myself. This marks the 13th anniversary of my being here at CHMR. So the hashtag is my CHMR 13th anniversary. If you want to follow along on anti-social media. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have probably more fun than usual. So you're going to notice a few things a little different. Notice me being a little more... Anyway, I'll just let it go and just see if you can pick out what I'm doing here. WWE World Heavyweight Champion Seth Rollins has torn his ACL, MCL, and medial meniscus and will not be able to defend his title against Roman Reigns at Survivor Series. A tournament to determine a new champion will instead take place at the event. As first reported on Twitter by ESPN, Rollins suffered the injury Wednesday at a WWE live event in Dublin, Ireland, and he expected to miss 6 to 9 months of action. Whether or not he actually misses it is depending on how John Cena he is, for lack of a better way of putting it. Details surrounding the Survivor Series tournament have not been finalized. The event takes place Sunday, November 22nd, and will air live only on the WWE Network. And you can stick with WWE.com for information on this breaking news as it becomes available. And there is a bit of an update here. Almost immediately after professional wrestler and corporate brown-nosed Seth Rollins was sidelined with an unfortunate knee injury, the masked Demon Rollins burst onto the WWE scene. Amid ominous music and fiery pyrotechnics, Demon Rollins stalked to the ring moments after corporate Rollins was wheeled out on a stretcher during a WWE event in Ireland. Rumored to have been horribly burned during a childhood fire, Demon Rollins is said to be mentally deranged and possibly educated in dentistry. The medium-sized dread monster, as Demon Rollins is colloquially known, chokeslammed several wrestlers and referees and then, with a dramatic arm gesture, summoned fireballs from all 4 ring posts. Some fans have pointed out striking similarities in appearance between Corporate Rollins and Demon Rollins, such as the streak of blonde hair emerging from the leather mask, leading some to speculate that the 2 wrestlers are actually the same person, which is clearly preposterous. Demon Rollins is expected to win a tournament at Survivor Series for the WWE Championship, vacated by the injured Corporate Rollins. You're listening to Ring Rust REDUX on Gerbernology TV. This is Fabo Mark Cerrone. You are listening to Ring Rust. Professional wrestler Bray Wyatt, the enigmatic leader of the cult-like Wyatt family, can now summon lightning bolts from the rafters and arenas, because logic schmogic. During a recent episode of WWE's flagship weekly program, Monday Night Raw, Wyatt uttered some convoluted gibberish, raised his arms, and commanded bolts to blast the ring post, because apparently that's a thing that can happen now. According to one source within WWE, the company's so-called creative team decided to give Wyatt godlike superpowers after realizing that wrestling fans will obediently accept any dumb stuff. A leaked script for next week's episode of Raw reveals that Wyatt will soon begin shooting lightning bolts out of his eyes, which his nemesis, The Undertaker, will deflect with his urn-powered zombie force field. The Undertaker's brother Kane, meanwhile, will emerge from his fiery abode underneath the ring, where he lives in a cozy bungalow with Hornswoggle, who is a magical goddamn leprechaun. The wrestling match between Cesaro and Kevin Owens, meanwhile, will be cancelled due to time constraints. So, you know what? When it comes to people who actually believe kayfabe news, unreal news for an unreal sport, it's the totally mind-boggling number of people who believe it. It's sad but true. You are listening to Ring Rust REDUX on Gerbernology TV. The so-called Cesaro Section at a recent professional wrestling event, a cadre of fans who demonstrate their support for Swiss Superman Antonio Cesaro, also turned out to be single adult male section. Proudly holding aloft their Cesaro Section signs, the undersexed singletons cheered loudly, and counted aloud incorrectly, as their hero performed his patented Cesaro swing maneuver. The lonely men, aged 18 to 34, and clad without exception in black t-shirts, unanimously agree that Cesaro deserves a push because he is the best worker on the WWE roster. Claudio deserves a strap, insists every member of the Cesaro Section. The demographic of the Cesaro Section is distinct from that of the John Cena fans, pre-adolescents and women, Big Show fans, giant fetishists, and Total Divas fans, simpletons. You're listening to Ring Rust Redux on Gerbernology TV. As Fanboy Mark Jabroni, you are listening to Ring Rust. I kind of like the song, and I used to play a religious character in local wrestling, so. And then this kind of thing happens when you're learning local wrestling. Okay, I gotta quit. I can't do this anymore. Barely a week into his hiatus from World Wrestling Entertainment, a bored John Cena has begun performing in the independent or indie wrestling circuit. Last night, John Cena lost submission to a handicapped hero, Gregory Iron, at a show by Absolute Intense Wrestling in a church basement in Cleveland. The multi-time former WWE champion then collected his $40 payment and drove 17 hours to North Platte, Nebraska, where he worked under a mask as Crusher Smashmouth in a show-opening battle royal for Nebraska All-Pro Wrestling. Although independent wrestling is far less lucrative and flashy than the big WWE events in which Cena is accustomed, he seems to be finding his niche quickly. He sells his own action figures for $20 a piece at his merch table during intermissions and gives fans a 20% discount on t-shirts if they let him crash at their house after shows. Cena's booked to face Al Snow at Tallahassee Championship Wrestling next weekend and is reportedly desperate to land a spot in Combat Zone Wrestling's next ultra-violent Tournament of Death. Sources close to Cena insist he has an insatiable desire to perform, whether in front of 75,000 fans at WrestleMania or in front of 43 toothless bumpkins at a Delaware parking lot. But others speculate he is merely working the indies as a way to get out of appearing on Total Divas. You're listening to Ring Rust Redux on Gerbernology TV. So next up, unwilling to rest on his laurels after demolishing the legendary streak and career of The Undertaker, ape-like professional wrestler Brock Lesnar has vowed to conquer an even greater adversary, NXT Divas champion Bayley. Oh, she's going to be adorably destroyed. Lesnar's mouthpiece and tamer, Paul Heyman, proclaimed at a press conference this morning that the Beast Incarnate will face the bubbly, huggable heroine at WrestleMania this spring. My client, unintelligible growl, Lesnar, has achieved everything one can possibly achieve in this business, except for an NXT Divas Championship reign, said Heyman. Paul issued a warning to Bayley that she should soon visit Suplex City, although he refrained from adding the usual epitaph or female dog, likely to avoid a sexual harassment lawsuit. According to backstage sources within WWE, Bayley is expected to easily defeat Lesnar and begin a 22-match winning streak at WrestleMania. Like me on Facebook, tinyurl.com/ringrust. Follow me on Twitter at Mark Jabroni, and subscribe to Gerbernology TV, youtube.com/fanboy Mark Jabroni. This is Fanboy Mark Jabroni. You are listening to Ring Rust. The world of professional wrestling came to a standstill this morning when, for nearly 20 minutes, legendary performer and WWE Hall of Famer Nature Boy Ric Flair unexpectedly stopped crying. Flair, who had been blubbering non-stop ever since Shawn Michaels superkicked him into retirement in 2008, wiped his eyes with a Kleenex at 9:47 a.m. this morning and apparently finished his perpetual sob. The waterworks resumed in full force, however, when an interviewer asked him whether he is proud of his daughter, successful WWE diva Charlotte. Flair's persistent weeping has become a hallmark of his public appearances, whether at the WWE Hall of Fame, ringside with Charlotte, or when styling and or profiling. Although some fans have expressed concern over Flair's mental well-being, sources close to him explain that his tears smell strongly of vodka, which might explain his emotional state. You are listening to Ring Rust Redux on Jabronology TV. Demonstrating its commitment to eschewing the racial stereotypes of the past, World Wrestling Entertainment recently hosted an event during which a Mexican wrestler walked to the ring while his white manservant rode a lawnmower. Alberto Del Rio made a triumphant surprise return, on foot, to accept John Cena's U.S. Open Challenge, while former bigot Zeb Coulter rolled out on a riding lawnmower, which looked uncannily like a mobility scooter. It's a sign of the times for WWE, which has traditionally portrayed Mexicans as poor day laborers, black people as dancing jive talkers, and midgets as leprechauns. This transition has led some pundits to refer to present-day WWE as the equality era. Some prejudices remain, however. Puerto Ricans are bullfighters, British people are snooty monarchs, and all Samoan people are related to The Rock, though the latter seems mostly true with the exception of Samoa Joe. WWE executives are hoping everyone will just eventually forget about Akeem, the African Dream. Good luck with that. Like me on Facebook, tinyurl.com/ringrust. Follow me on Twitter @MarkJabroni, and subscribe to Jabronology TV, youtube.com/fanboymarkjabroni. So I got time enough for one more story. I've had a little fun this week, chatting with some people on Facebook and just, playing requests and all kinds of stuff, and reading fun stories that aren't real news, even though a lot of people believe kayfabe news, unreal news for an unreal sport. But that's none of my business. Enthusiasts of professional grappling were gobsmacked today as newspaper headlines declared that the dapper duo known as the Vaudevillians have been past endeavored by the whole Worldwide Wrestling Federation, the WWWF. In a telegram issued today from the company's headquarters in Tin Pan Alley, spokesman Toots Monk proclaimed that WWWF has come to terms with Aiden English and Simon Gotch on the termination of the gentleman's handshake agreement with our grappling league. Gotch and English were reportedly inconsolable, lacking the moxie to even ride their bicycles with oversized front wheels to the gymnasium where they typically hoist large triangular weights until their fedoras are drenched with perspiration. I thought everything was ducky until those no-good ragamuffins turfed us, said Gotch, angrily curling his mustache. Those palookas gave us the bums rush, I tell you. It is unclear exactly why the Vaudevillians got past endeavored, but some pundits of grapplery suggest it was because WWWF is supporting women's lib by promoting dames with gams that won't quit. That's it for another show, kiddies. Check me out on Facebook, where you can keep track of all the news that's right on the mark, from around ringside to the latest concerts. See you at the shows. Later days.
This is 93.5 CHMR-FM.